Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Tyler from the Keep Pounding podcast, and what a week it's been with training camp. We've had the injury bug going on every single day, it seems, since the Panthers started training camp. Today was the conclusion of the second day of pads, and everything's looking good, minus the injuries. I'm excited about this team moving forward, both offense and defensively. We'll kind of dive into who's been looking good, what players to watch out for, and kind of keep you updated with the injuries of what's going on. But you know, I feel like we've kind of started really fast. Again, minus the injuries, we started a week before everybody else, minus the Cardinals, and we're gonna get some injury bugs. When you're out and you haven't played football, live contact like that for since January, and then you go back out and play, it takes some time for your body to get acclimated to that. So I do expect some injuries. Just hopefully they're not significant like Nick Scorton's. But the tweaks, the strains, the soreness, that's normal. Again, your body's just to get adapted to that. Let's just knock it out of the way. It's late July, about to be August, so let's just nip that in the butt now. We don't need any more. No more injuries. No more injuries, please. We'll talk about it, but the injuries are piling up. So we're going to be going over, obviously, the Panthers are back in pads, full pads at training camp. And then we're going to go into the latest injury updates and who's missing practice, how Bryce and the offense are progressing. Hearing a lot of good things about those guys, what to expect this weekend at Fan Fest this Friday. And then the latest updates on Jonathon Brooks, how he's recovering. And then also Luke Fortner's role. We're going to talk about him a little bit. Mike Jackson, his contract situation. He had a press conference today and talked about that and what it can mean for the future for him and the Panthers. And JC Horn's role. JC Horn's going to be playing a little differently on the defense. We'll talk about it. So if you are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and please leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are on who you're looking forward to watch during training camp. Donnie, yes, a relatively new podcast. I've been doing this since last year, but it's a really slow growing podcast, and I've been out for about 2 months just because moving, 3 kids. I work every single day, so life is crazy. But yeah, so hopefully you like the content. But yeah, we're relatively new. I've been making content for just under a year, so appreciate you tuning in. But let's dive into the content. So the first thing I want to talk about was Vita Vea. So Vita Vea, he told the team, the Bucks, that he wants to be traded. So he's entering his final season on a 4-year, $71 million contract. He is set to earn just over $17 million in base salary for the season, but none of it is guaranteed. So obviously with the recent market setting you have Jeffrey Simmons and then most recently Jalen Carter making really big money. And then you look at Vita Vea's $17 million annual average. That's pretty much nothing compared to what these guys are making. So it makes sense. He's the heart and soul of that defense. Would love for him to be traded. The Bucks defense is a great run stuffy defense, but losing Vita Vea, I think, changes that entirely. He is, again, the heart and soul of that defense interiorly. And I know a lot of Panther fans are thinking like, oh, we could get him. Could we get him? They're not going to trade an amazing player like that to a division rival. He's not going to Carolina. Like some trade destinations, there's rumors that he prefers the West Coast. So you have the LA Rams would make sense, even though they got Myles Garrett. San Fran would make a lot of sense. The Chargers have, I think, the most cap space right now. And then the Raiders, they still got tons of cap space. They're still building. And the Patriots, you got Milton Williams in there. So though I know the Patriots are not West Coast, but that would make a lot of sense to me with that defense already solid, one of the best defenses in the NFL, getting a player like that. So we'll see. I think they eventually would get a deal done because the Bucks they're not really rebuilding, but they're not. They're kind of playing for the division, not really. The Baker Mayfield's going to be entering his final. We'll see if he gets a contract extension or not. The last time that I heard was he's going in on his final year of his deal. So hopefully it would make sense that the Bucks just with Vita Vea, they just basically like, hey, here's a bigger contract extension for just this year, and then they move on. So we'll see. We'll see. Now, one thing I found interesting as well was recently David Tepper and Roger Goodell, they had a kind of like a not a meeting, but just like talked like just sat down and talked to around like different reporters and news outlets about the Panthers and the NFL in general. But what I found the most interesting out of this conversation was Roger Goodell did say that Charlotte is a prime destination for the NFL draft. Now, Charlotte wouldn't be a candidate to host the draft until I believe 2030 because we're going to be doing stadium renovations that are going to be done around that time. But as far as they did also talk about the Super Bowl, I think as far as the stadium goes, that we could host it obviously, but it's all about hotels, transportation, all that. I just don't think we have the infrastructure in Charlotte right now to host something like that. Tampa Bay or Jacksonville does, some of these bigger cities. So I don't know if Charlotte would be a destination or not, but I did find that interesting that he did mention that the Panthers, Charlotte could host the NFL draft. And if they do, I'm on the West Coast. I live in Orange County. I'm from Charlotte originally. If they hosted a draft, I gotta go. That would be so cool. So that's something to look forward to. I know they typically kind of give out where the NFL draft is going to be within a couple of years in advance. So we'll see. Here in a couple of years, maybe we'll get the nod for the NFL draft. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, training camp started a couple of days ago with pads. You had Ocho Cinco out there the other day, along with Steve Smith and Princeton Buckner, that they're out there kind of watching the players practice. Ocho Cinco has been a really big vocal kind of personality on social media that has really talked really good about the Panthers. He's becoming a fan and says he's a fan because of how the organization has been run. He had high praise for David Tepper, Dan Morgan, Brant Tillis for the job that they have done. So I thought it was really cool to see them out there checking out the team. It was pretty funny. Ocho and Sheena Quick were doing like a little interview, and during the interview, that's when they had the scuffle out there with Felipe Franks and a couple other guys. I'm not sure who we got in a fight with, but that was kind of funny to watch. So I thought it was really cool just to see him out there along with Steve Smith. And kind of just, it seems like the Panthers are really evolving into more eyes are going into, more eyes on the team, more head nods as far as like, yeah, this team is moving in the right direction. So it's cool, not just Panther fans, but other personalities, other people within the social media and news outlets see that too. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we got FanFest. So FanFest is going to be this Friday. Dave Canales said that FanFest will pretty much resemble a preseason game. So players will practice on pads, in pads. He said it'll be a physical practice without tackling to the ground, but everything else will be pretty much a full simulated game. He did mention that the fans can expect trick plays, some special teams work, situational football, some secretive like offensive wrinkles, and some secretive defensive packages as well. So, but the goal is basically to simulate game conditions as closely as possible. So it should be a lot of fun. It's $5 a ticket. The money that is generated through FanFest will be given to Charlotte charities. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to go out there. They're going to have fireworks. They're going to have players sign autographs at the end. So, if you live in Charlotte, check it out. It should be a lot of fun. Okay. So one thing that I thought was really cool during the other day when Jalen Phillips was giving his press conference was Jalen Phillips had a lot of high praise for Princely. So he did say that the best passer on the team is Princely, the best pass rusher, sorry. Can Princely prove that he's not just a situational pass rusher? Can he be an every down rusher, right? Can he be better in rush situation packages? With Nick Scourton's injury, he's going to have plenty of opportunities throughout the season to prove himself. So if you remember last year when Pat Jones was injured for the remainder of the year, Nick Scourton got more playing time than he would have if Jones wasn't out. And that allowed Nick to develop a lot faster. So now Princely is getting that same opportunity. You know, Pat Jones is healthy. Princely is going to have more opportunities, and they're going to have plenty of carry. They're going to have to carry the torch for Nick this year. I don't see the Panthers going out and get another name. You know, and people are talking about Joey Bosa, Jadeveon Clowney, Hassan Reddick. I do not think that's going to happen unless you had, God forbid, Jalen Phillips or someone like that get injured and they're looking for depth. So I just think they're going to give the torch to Pat Jones and Princely to kind of carry that load until next year. So it's going to be interesting to see how Princely comes along this year. Will they, you know, as he develops, Evero allowing him to get more reps within the game. And I can't remember how many, like, percentage wise. I want to say it was like 30% ish that he was playing defensively, like maybe 20 to 30% defensive plays. So he's gonna get a lot more opportunities this upcoming season. So that's going to be a great place for Princely to kind of show us Panther fans and the team, can he step up and be, you know, go to that next level? Can he do what Nick Scorton did last year? So that's going to be something that could be fun to watch this year. Now, as I mentioned before, injuries are really piling up. Now, what came out today, Chris Brazzell, he was out several days with knee soreness, which is the same knee he got an injury in today. But he came back to practice today. He couldn't finish practice. They wanted to do some imaging. They did imaging, and the report came out that they showed a partial tear, a moderate partial tear of the LCL, which is the ligament on the outside of the knee. They said it's unrelated to the soreness that he felt previously, but I highly doubt that. I'm not saying that he had the tear before he went in, but he obviously wasn't ready to handle the load that he got today. So unless it was just a freak accident, but it doesn't sound like, in my opinion, I think it is related. They say it's unrelated, but I doubt it. But this does give more opportunities for XL, Jimmy Horn, John Mechie. Jimmy Horn is someone that I thought would probably be the odd man out in this group, but now with Chris Brazzell out, which he'll be out approximately about 8 weeks, so that should be around like week 3, week 4 time frame. We do have the early bye in week 6, so depending on how he comes along, I could see them just wait until week 6 and just maybe around week 4 time frame, just him getting, you know, into practice and kind of get back into football shape. So they'll probably ease him in either way. But he will be out for 8 weeks minimum. So that's going to obviously hurt his development. So as he comes back from the injury, they're going to have to pretty much kind of throw him in. He's not going to have the luxury like he would have now of like getting more and more reps and getting, you know, going against really good NFL corners, the NFL game speed. So hopefully it doesn't affect his development too much, but it is unfortunate that he'll be injured throughout training camp. The other injuries, you have Damian Lewis that tweaked his calf. Dave Canales did mention that he does believe he's going to be day-to-day, and he's pretty optimistic that he'll be back relatively quickly. Robert Hunt is still out, not for a significant amount of time, but should be back soon. And then you had the Mitchell Evans scare where the cart came out, but he was grabbing his ankle. He couldn't put any weight on the leg, but it is just an ankle sprain. Thank God. So he did post on Instagram that he's okay. The team is pretty optimistic that he'll be back even before FanFest, so in 2 days. So that's really, really good news. And everything I'm hearing as far as Mitchell Evans, he's having a really good camp so far. So glad he's not going to miss that much time. And we also got Mike Jackson and JC Horn back when they came back yesterday and just went through some individual drills. And today they went through some team drills. We'll kind of talk about how they've been doing out there. But that's obviously a great sign with them coming back. But I believe they were on a pitch count today. So again, these are things to be expect throughout the training camp. It's just when the first day of training camp, your number 2 edge rusher tears his ACL and he's out for the year, and then you hear about Timo, and then you got Brazzell, Lewis, Hunt, Evans, Mike Jack, JC Horn. You're like, dude, what the hell? So, you know, I know it's a sensitive topic right now because we've had a really bad injury bug, but these little, you know, couple of days out here, maybe a week out there. Don't, it happens to every NFL team. It happens to every NFL team. So the injuries are kind of piling up. It does feel like every single day that someone is getting injured, but outside of the Nick Scorton injury, the next one is Chris Brazzell is the most significant, and everybody else is pretty much day to day. So hopefully we get some better news this week. I'm always afraid to open Twitter and be like, oh, this person's out. So I live about 30 minutes away from the stadium, but I have football practice that ends at 8. Do you think I should at least try to make it to FanFest on Friday? So FanFest, I believe, it starts at 6:30, but the practice starts, I want to say, around 7:30 and ends at 8:45. So if you live near the stadium, you probably get there. If you get off, you said 8 o'clock. You probably catch another 30 minutes. So yeah, man, it's up to you. Comes once a year, and the money goes to charity. But yeah, they're going to be practicing from 7:30 to 8:45. But yeah, I'll check it out if you live right next to the stadium for sure. Okay, so obviously back in pads today. Dave Canales, he mentioned after the first day of practice in pads, he admitted that the practice didn't really start physical enough and wasn't up to the standards that he is looking for a Panthers practice. Midway through the practice, he challenged the defense to set the tone. The team did respond, which is great. They were more physical, more attempts to punch the ball loose, just better overall intensity as practice continued. The offense won the day. The first day, the evening. I think the defense won one, and then the offense won two. So I think they won the first day, and then I think they also won today. They had a really good day today as well. But the first day of practice, you had the fight, right? So I thought, it makes sense. The first padded practice where everyone's super physical, that is to be expected. Canales, he's mentioned he wasn't upset about the players competing. Like, it's actually kind of what you're looking for, but his message was simple. Football is emotional. You need to play on the edge. Don't cross that line. He reminded the players, like, hey, personal fouls lose us games. Throwing punches gets players ejected. He was pleased with how everyone kind of settled down after that and continued to have a solid practice. But he did mention that, like, if they continued and they're still kind of fighting, that he would have kicked them out. So you want to teeter on that edge where players are, this is their livelihood. People are competitive. They have people are very, very passionate about what they do, obviously, and things get heated. It's hot. It's humid out there. Today was really, really humid. Dave Canales said it finally felt like a real training camp with the heat and humidity. He did say that the overall energy was a lot better today throughout the practice, but he also mentioned the offense finished strong. So with the first padded practice, or like the second padded practice, this was the first time that Jonathon Brooks had a padded practice that passed a huge benchmark. So he has come a long way with his knee injury. I hope he can stay healthy and get back to his old form the way he played back in Texas. He made a very impressive deep catch today. They're continuing to progress well physically, or he is continuing to progress well physically. Brooks did mention he would like to kick return. Dave Canales mentioned today and joked around that Brooks would have to beg him for the opportunity because they value him too much offensively. He is testing and practicing his catching ability out of the backfield, working on a lot of wheel routes and screens, something he did and excelled a lot in Texas. So this is something that Bryce and this offense hasn't had since Christian McCaffrey, is someone that's explosive, that can run in between the tackles, run outside the tackles, has a lot of speed. Obviously, he's RB2 right now, but if he stays healthy and he trends the way he can, I can see him taking over RB1. But all I'm asking for this year is to stay healthy, give us some solid reps, be a good 1-2 punch with Chuba and Brooks. And I think this is really going to be an element that's going to be very exciting to watch on Sundays for the Panthers offensively. So this is his first padded practice. It was really cool to see. Now, outside of Brooks, Bryce Young in this offense they've had a camp so far. So Canales had a lot of praise for Bryce's development. He said Bryce is showing greater command of the offense, better mastery of the concepts. He's improving timing and rhythm, more anticipatory throwing the football. He specifically mentioned Bryce is his chemistry is growing. You can notice it with T-Mac, Jalen Coker, David Moore. He's Bryce Young even connected to T-Mac for a touchdown on a double move in the back of the end zone. XL has been catching everything that's been thrown to him. John Mechie has made some noise in camp. Jimmy Horn gave Trayvon Moore some trouble on 1v1s. And then even David Moore. I know a lot of fans may not like David Moore, but he will be on the team, okay? But David Moore's making plays every day. He can play every receiver position. So the offense has really, really come together. They've looked really, really good the last several days in padded practice. And one of the wide receivers that is making some noise is Jasim Reed. He's another wide receiver that we picked up. He's an undrafted free agent that we selected last year. He was on our practice squad last year. And Dave Canales has really given him some praise. He said he separates really well and knows every receiver position. He can be trusted anywhere in the formation. QBs love to throw to him. Canales believes Reed is really making a legitimate case to earn a roster spot. So we saw this with Coker. And now we're seeing this with Jasim Reed. Not saying he's going to be a Jalen Coker, but we're actually a team that can develop younger talent. This is a lot of fun to watch. Just these players that honestly, like I heard of him, but didn't really think about him as a potential player that could take over a roster spot. But it's good to see in camp these ascending players making noise where you're like, hey, I didn't think that they would challenge, maybe a Bryson Tremaine or a Jimmy Horn or a John Mechie. So this is something that I would love to see because it's just going to make us better, right? Canales also mentioned that Bryce's comfort level is becoming obvious on the field. As we talked about, and you guys probably seen on Twitter and social media, Bryce and the receivers have been putting extra work over the summer, and it's really starting to show on the practice field that the chemistry is really growing between him and the receivers. Canales talked about it and praised Bryce's ability. He talked about how good he is escaping pressure, extending plays, staying calm outside the pocket. JC Horn, he had an interview today. We'll kind of talk about him in a little bit, but he admitted that the offense won today. He noticed Bryce is trusting his receivers more. The chemistry, he noticed he can see the chemistry across the offense, believes it will translate on Sundays. So this is something that we want to see throughout the season consistently. Not only so we can have a successful season, but also I want Bryce to be at that level where he can really be a really consistent, good franchise quarterback for years to come. But he's got to be consistent this year. So far, Bryce is having himself a camp. He is looking really, really good. Hopefully that will continue to ascend. It'll translate to preseason. He'll get and look really good and continue that trajectory throughout the season. So I'm excited about it. But also regarding the offense, there have been the reports that Rasheed Walker, the left tackle, has looked solid so far throughout camp. Dave Canales also mentioned that Monroe Freeling has looked really good as well, but still has things he can clean up and improve upon. But overall, they are very pleased with his development so far at right tackle. And Monroe Freeling did mention that, give me a couple days, let me get my footwork right, and I'll be fine. And so far, he's been going against Jalen Phillips. He is going to have times where he gets beat really bad against Jalen Phillips. He's a really, really good edge rusher. Monroe Freeling's going to have some rookie growing pains. Every rookie does, even first-round picks, even top 10 picks do. But this is very promising given the fact that we lost Icky and we're without Taylor Moton. We're still in a position that we're not in, oh no mode. So, it's still early. He's a rookie, but do expect there to be rookie mistakes throughout the year. Canales also praised the quarterback's coach, Will Hager, for preparing the entire QB room. He talked about how Kenny Pickett and Haynes King have both handled the blitz recognition and production well. Canales did mention that Pickett has been pretty invaluable throughout camp so far, that he's always prepared in the building early, asking great questions, helping Bryce, and really producing quality practice reps that become teaching tape. So that's all you really ask for and you want in your backup quarterback position, is giving good quality reps not just the QB1 doing that. So, but also Dave Canales and the Panthers brought in Kyle Trask that does have familiarity with the system. Adds additional depth. Obviously, Will Greer, he retired, is now coaching for the Cowboys. I don't know if it's like a wide receiver coach or QB coach. I can't remember, but having Kyle Trask, because you have 4 preseason games, that's going to create more opportunities to evaluate the quarterbacks. So having him in there as well makes sense. So again, Bryce Young, the offense, the receivers are all looking really good. There isn't really one out there that is having a bad training camp so far. Again, it's only the first week, but what we've seen so far has been really, really good. Now, some of the things I wanted to point out real quick is, and that I saw throughout Twitter, that some people, they find we have to calm down when there's a clip or a post about Bryce Young or any player for that matter having a bad rep, right? So this was all over Twitter the other day. So you have Bryce that throws kind of thrown behind him, and Corey Thornton makes a great play, right? Okay. People are saying, oh, Bryce is trash, or oh, this. Dude, this is training camp. This isn't even the first week. Like they're not even in pads, right? This is just training camp. People need to calm down. They need to calm down with the Bryce hate. They need to calm down. So if a player has a bad rep, let's give that person a little grace. Let's give him a little grace, just a little bit. Darkness, what's going on? Canales also mentioned they were working with trick plays, which is great. No matter, yeah, and he mentioned to expect that during FanFest. So I'm sure there will be some live streams out there, or hopefully they'll post it. I know they posted some things last year, but I don't know if they'll post anything live or not for people to be able to watch, like on YouTube or whatever on Panthers.com. So we'll see. But yeah. So Canales did mention there'll be some trick plays. And then also, I've heard reports that Brad Idzik has been being a little bit more aggressive with the play calling and targeting tight ends a little bit more. And I might as well talk about him now. So they mentioned before that Brad Idzik and Dave Canales and the staff kind of talked about that San Francisco 49er tape. How you can see in that game that Dave Canales really put the brakes on Bryce Young. They really put the chains on Bryce Young, right? They didn't allow him to throw the ball down the field. They tried to run the ball a lot, and then they try to get, when the game it was too late, then they were like, okay, Bryce, throw the football. So I think they learned during that game that they need to be able to be a little bit more explosive. They need to allow Bryce Young you can't handicap a player and then say, well, why isn't he playing well? He either plays well or he doesn't. There needs to be a balance to it, right? Like, hey, you don't want to have the guy throw down the field all the time, but you got to give the guy opportunities where he's not predictable. The defense can't predict what he's doing, and they can't tighten windows and make it harder for your quarterback. So that was good to read and see that Brad Idzik is being a little bit more aggressive down the field, and hopefully with Bryce being more comfortable with the offense and Brad Idzik, being able to create a little bit more explosive plays, that'll help Bryce and this offense in general. But let's go to Luke Fortner. So Dave Canales did mention that Luke Fortner has been taking first team reps at center during training camp so far. So Canales really praised him for his command at center. He also highlighted his leadership, protection calls, his communication, and just his football intelligence. This is something that I want to keep an eye on throughout camp and throughout the preseason. I do think Sam Heck could still possibly be the starter, but what we're hearing from training camp so far is that Luke is the starter right now at this position. So I think this is great. Too solid. So if something happens to Luke Fortner, you have Sam Heck. And if something happens to Sam Heck, you have Luke Fortner. Nick Samick is still competing there as well, but Dave Canales did specifically mention that Luke Fortner is taking first team reps right now at training camp. So, and he's looked really, really good. So again, hopefully, this offensive line, I'm really looking forward to see how they work together as a unit against the defense with a lot of new faces. You got Rasheed Walker, that's new. You have Luke Fortner or Sam Heck, that's new. You have Monroe Freeling, that's new. And the only two familiar faces is Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt in the interior. So I'm really interested to see how that chemistry develops between the line and Bryce, and him trusting that they're going to hold protection well. So now, a couple of other interviews or press conferences today was one was Mike Jack. So Jackson talked to the beat reporters today, and he really talked about several things. One of them was building chemistry with J.C. Horn. Mike Jackson likes lining up on the same side as J.C. Horn. The two he mentioned communicate constantly before plays to make sure they're seeing the same things. He says it's a new experience that helps both corners play faster. He's not happy with how he practiced today. Jackson was his own critic. He admitted that he gave up a completion he believes shouldn't have happened. He dropped an interception today. He expects more from himself. And he said that doesn't happen. I've got to be better. He emphasized that elite players don't wait for a bad day to refocus. They bring that level every practice. And the confidence in the defense. When asked whether the offense has improved, Jackson jokingly replied, "No, because we lock them up every day." They didn't do that today. The offense had a day today, so they didn't lock him up today. He also didn't hesitate when asked if he and J.C. Horner are the NFL's best cornerback duo. His answer, for sure. So, and then secondary playing together. Jackson did say that the defensive backs have developed enough trust that they can coach each other hard. They challenge each other on the field. Sometimes they get each other loudly. Nobody takes it personally because everyone knows it's about improving. And then he mentioned his contract. So Jackson did confirm the Panthers have not discussed a contract extension with him. He's preparing to play the season in the final year of his deal, but he made it clear the contract isn't his focus. His mindset is playing great football. The money will take care of itself. If he performs, everything else will work out, whether it's in Carolina or somewhere else. So, and that is something that I kind of expected even before camp and OTAs was Mike Jackson. He's playing an elite level, but he is an older cornerback. Now, could they possibly get something done later on and maybe do a 1 year, 2 year deal? Possibly. But the Panthers, so I'll kind of go into this in a little bit. So Will Lee, we'll kind of go into why I believe Jackson isn't getting a deal yet. It really depends on Will Lee. And J.C. Horn has praised Will Lee. He said that he has handled being thrown in with the starters really well. He's learning not to lose confidence after giving up catches. And this is due to J.C. Horn's role being expanded a little bit. So J.C. Horn, his new role could really unlock the Panthers defense and give better matchups, better versatility, and give the opposing offenses, the opposing quarterbacks, harder reads pre-snap. So one of the biggest storylines for me from Panthers training camp is how Carolina is expanding J.C. Horn's role. For most of his career, obviously Horn is lined up most exclusively as an outside corner, where he's obviously one of the best in the NFL. But this year, Evero is giving Horn a much bigger role by moving him into the nickel, the slot position. And people are like, why is he doing that? Well, the Panthers have experimented with it in the past, but now it seems like they're really being fully committed to that. Horn did say that this is the first time he's consistently played inside during training camp, but this move allows him to cover slot receivers. It allows him to blitz more often, make more plays against the run. He gives quarterbacks, again, different looks before the snap. And Horn has really had a lot of fun with this. There is that mental challenge, though, where playing nickel isn't just about lining up at a different spot. Horn did explain during his press conference that outside corner is relatively simple compared to nickel. As a slot defender, motion can completely change your assignment. You have to understand the entire defensive scheme. One mistake can affect the whole defense. So it's a much more demanding position mentally. To prepare for the transition, he talked about that he reached out to Jalen Ramsey. He played very similar role under Evero and during the Rams Super Bowl season. So Horn spent some time with Ramsey this offseason learning the slot techniques, how to diagnose offensive motions, how to approach the position mentally. He says those conversations really helped him develop into this new role. But again, moving him inside changes how Horn works with Mike Jackson, though. So instead of lining up opposite sides of the field, they're now playing next to each other more often. And Jackson said the two constantly communicate between plays, making sure they're seeing the same things and helping each other adjust. With JC being in the slot more often, this gives more opportunity for the 4th-round pick rookie Will Lee. So when Horde slides in inside, Will Lee has been getting reps outside. And again, Horn has praised Lee's confidence, reminding him that every NFL corner is going to give up catches. But his advice to Lee was don't lose confidence, keep trusting the process, show up, improve every day. And Mike Jackson kind of echoed those thoughts, saying that Will Lee has really balled so far during camp. He works hard every day and he's eager to learn from the vets. But this still, just because J.C. Horn is going into the nickel slot doesn't mean he's going to primarily be at that spot. It's just to provide different looks, right? So Shaw Smith-Wade is still going to have a role. That doesn't mean that Horn is going to become obviously the full-time nickel corner, but Shaw Smith-Wade will remain right now the primary corner, and Corey Thornton also is working there during camp as well, which I do think Thornton will beat Shaw Smith-Wade by the end of camp, in my opinion. So again, this just creates flexibility by moving Horn around to disguise coverages. This creates mismatches, matchup problems for opposing offenses. So it'll be interesting to see how this really translates to Sundays. But I do like the idea of having the defense show multiple looks and you don't know what to expect from the defense every play. So this is going to make us harder to play against and can create more turnover opportunities. So this is something I'm excited to see, not just during training camp, but also just during the preseason, how this really translates and how this makes us look as a defense as a whole. So I'm excited. I do think this can be a top 10 defense. And if Bryce can continue to play well, this offense can continue to play well, and the defense starts to get better than they should. They got Devin Lloyd. You got Jalen Phillips. This defense looks really good. So you have Lee Hunter in the middle. Obviously, you lost Nick Scorton for the year. You have Ashawn Robinson that's gone from the middle. He's with the Bucks now, so he might actually be replacing Vita Vea if he gets traded. So again, outside of the injuries, the Panthers, I think everything's looking good so far, right? And don't be upset if the Bryce is cooking the defense. Oh, our defense sucks. Or the defense is intercepted Bryce 3 times today. Oh, Bryce sucks. This is training camp. Training camp practice is meant to be in certain situations. We don't know the context of what every play was designed for. Was it to kind of push to see how much they can get away with, right? Let's say Bryce, for example. Hey, Bryce, we know this. You probably shouldn't do this throw, but let's have you practice this throw. And then someone clips it, and they're like, oh, what a horrible throw by Bryce. So take everything with a grain of salt. So far, Bryce has had a good camp. So until we see things live preseason, he should be all the starters, some more than others, but all the starters should and will be getting preseason reps. So I do think the way that we've been practicing and with the Dave Canales mentioning that the starters will get some live reps. I think he's learned the last several years from his mistakes because we've started slow. We've played slow beginning of the year every single year that Dave Canales has been a coach. So for the Panthers. But that's it for me, guys. I just want to kind of give my thoughts with the training camp so far. Those are things that I'm looking forward to. From the offense, can Bryce and them start to really continue to have this chemistry that's going to develop into preseason and Sundays. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Monroe Freeling does at right tackle. Who's going to get those last few spots at wide receiver with Chris Brazzell gone? That's going to allow Excel to have. Excel has a wide receiver 3 spot now. If he loses it, it's on him, not on anybody else. So, that's something to watch. And Excel has looked really good so far during camp. Again, I know it's practice, but he has looked faster. He lost about 12 pounds in the offseason. He's taken this year seriously. He knows he can't have another year like he's had the last couple of years. He needs to get back to what his potential is. And if he can get to his potential, and we got T-Mac and Jalen Coker, watch out, bro. Watch out. Defensively, I'm looking forward to see, how JC Horn develops into that nickel role, how often they utilize him from a percentage standpoint, when they utilize him. As far as like nickel, outside of JC Horn, will Corey Thornton beat out Shaw Smith Wade? And Shaw Smith Wade has had, from all reports that I hear, he's had a really good camp so far. Again, it's early. There's still a lot of training camp to be had, but everything looks good so far as how Shaw Smith Wade has played. Oh my gosh, darkness. And I don't know if you knew, but was it T-Mac today? I can't remember. Someone scored off. I think it was T-Mac that scored off of Nick Scott. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but Nick Scott didn't play bad last year, man. He didn't play bad. We all know that Nick Scott gives up some big touchdowns, but Nick Scott wasn't bad last year. I know a lot of fans can't stand him. Maybe Lathan Ransom will win the job. We'll see. Why is Canales always being investigated during training camp? Yeah, he mentioned that whenever he was with Seattle under Pete Carroll during the Legion Boom time period, that Pete Carroll would really push the envelope as far as how much he can get out of practice. And the NFLPA came down on him, and they took away a 5th round draft pick. So Dave Canales actually mentioned that during his press conference the other day, where he's like, I told the players, like, hey, this is what we can do, what we can get away with, what we can't get away with, which, by the way, the NFLPA did not find anything that the Panthers did that was against the rules, against the collective bargaining agreement. So the Panthers are clear of everything. So, which I would have been shocked if they were kind of going against the rules, to be honest, just given like Dan Morgan, Dave Canales, and their personalities. I wouldn't really kind of have them in that category as far as knowingly break the rules. But they say no live contact, but like it was there's always some contact during walkthrough or during practice, unless it's a walkthrough. That's why they call it a walkthrough. But they're just going through, there's no pads. They're just doing like, it was just a freak accident. So the Panthers are clear of any wrongdoing. So why are all the Panther channels not talking about how we have Isaiah Simmons? Hey, I mean, Isaiah Simmons, he was really coming along towards the end of the year, specifically special teams. He is someone that is behind not just Nick Scott but Lathan Ransom. But you never know. But he's pretty much our special teams ace right now. You never know. It's training camp. Things can happen. I'm not opposed to him stepping up and taking over that role, but I would be surprised if he does take over that role, to be honest. I do think that he will be our special teams guy. And why are we going 100% in training camp? You got to practice the way you play. You got to be smart, but you can't be afraid to go 100% when you're practicing either. Again, you got to be smart. You got to pick you got to do your pitch counts. But I want the players to play aggressive. I want them to go 100%. Just be smart about it. Just be smart about it. Isaiah Simmons 6'4". Yeah, the dude's a beast, man. He was picked in the first round for a reason. He's got talent. Just hasn't been put together. So again, if you guys haven't already, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. I really appreciate it. It helps grow the channel. And then Barry or Joe, were we related? My last name's Jones too. Do you want? Yeah, they have been practicing on grass, by the way. They have. The practice fields are grass now. On the field, Bank America Stadium, it is turf, and I am an advocate for all football should be on grass. If you can do it for the Major League Soccer, you can do it for the NFL, right? And what really bothers me, and I'm glad you brought this up. What really bothers me, and I mentioned this before, is as an owner, and I think David Tepper, since he's kind of took a step back, he's let Dan Morgan, Dave Canales, Brant Tellis do their thing, right? He did mention when he first bought the Panthers that I will do whatever it takes to give my team an edge. Whatever it is, right? When it comes to the facility, recovery, doctors. How about freaking grass, bro? If 95% of your players want grass and you can do it for your Major League Soccer team, but you're not going to do it for your football team, that's not cool with me, dude. It's not, and I'm sure it's not cool with other players in the locker room either. I get and I understand from a business perspective, right? I try to play devil's advocate in every situation, and you should in life, right? You should play devil's advocate. But I get, hey, you got concerts, you got, other things that you're bringing revenue into the stadium for, right? Into your pocket. Cool. I get that. But bro, that's not an excuse. There is a way. There's no way that you don't have enough money where you can make it to where the players can get grass. I'm just saying. Just saying. Thank you, Jones, for bringing that up. I appreciate that. And what must-win games are played? What must-win games are played on grass? Well, I'm confused. Like, you mean like, are you saying like what games we're playing this year that we're going to be playing on grass? That I have no idea. I want to say a lot of NFL teams do have turf. I know there's some out there for sure. Probably like half a dozen or so, maybe 10. I want to say majority of the league does have turf, but yeah, I want to say it's not that many teams that has actual grass. I just don't know who they are, but we will actually later throughout the before the season starts, we'll kind of go over the schedule and talking about games, must-win games. I will say for sure, week 1 is a must-win game. Specifically for Panthers Twitter, there is so much trash talk when it comes to Panthers Twitter and Bears. We got to win week 1, bro. We got to. Are we winning against the Packers? We're playing at the Green Bay, right? That's going to be hard, dude. Jordan Love had a really bad game, and we won I want to say it was a rainy game that last year too, and we ran for almost 200 yards. It was a really nasty win. We can, don't get it twisted. We can win every single game we play. Are we going to win every single game? No, but we're going to be competitive in every single game. There's not a game where we're like, oh, we're not going to win. We're in a mode right now that players got to watch out for us. It's not like, we got the Panthers coming. That's an easy W. No, you got to mark that on your calendar. Hey, this is a really good football team. This isn't the Panthers from 2 years ago. This isn't the Panthers from last year. This is a good football team. Now it needs to translate, right? There's the potential of that. As a fan, playing devil's advocate, it could not come together, but I don't think that'll happen. Do you believe the defense when the offense wins the day? Yeah. J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson both said that the offense have won the last several days. So, it doesn't make me think that the defense is playing bad. It's just maybe Bryce is playing really good. And there have been some dimes that Joe Person has mentioned. I saw there's a podcast. I forget the name of the podcast, actually. Let me look it up. I can tell you right now. It's a really good podcast that just started with him and Joe Person and Sheena Quick. It's called Panthers Collective. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's really good. It's a good listen. They give you insight. Obviously, Dunk does a really good job. And then you got the insight for the beat reporters with Sheena Quick and Joe Person. It's a really good listen. So if you guys haven't, check out Panthers Collective. But Joe Person did mention on that the pod today that oh my gosh, I forgot my train of thought now. So Bryce Young he had some throws. Like there were throws that there was JT Sanders, for example, was not open, but he threw him open. If we get that Bryce this year, he's getting paid. He's going to get paid. Do you believe in Mike Jack and JC Horn not to give up random huge plays? I mean, it'll happen. JC Horn gave up a few plays, but I'm not concerned about Mike Jack and JC Horn. They're a top 5 cornerback duo, bro. They are. They're really good. You need to be worried about Nick Scott. Thank you, Darkness, for that. You're not worried about Nick Scott and Shaw Smith. Shaw Smith Wade is who you need to worry about. Like I really, and I'm that's no shade at Shaw Smith Wade. You know, maybe that was a little bit disrespectful. I apologize, but he could have played a lot better last year. Now, if he comes out and plays like a dog and plays good, I'll take my words back. But Shaw Smith Wade is who you need to worry about. And then, do you like the Cardinals do the field rolls in and out, roll it out for concerts? Yeah, exactly, bro. There's ways to do it. Now, there's ways to do it. I just don't want to hear someone say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, but you don't do whatever it takes when 90+% of your team wants grass. I think that's a bunch of BS. And I get like bottom lines, whatever, bro. You got billions of dollars. You say you bought the Panthers because you want to bring a Super Bowl to Charlotte, but you can't put grass on the field. I don't want to hear any excuses. Zero excuses. JT Sanders, I hope he shows up. Yeah, I think this could be a year. You know, and I mentioned this, I want to say last week. This could be a year that if JT Sanders continues to not improve and Mitchell Evans ascends, depending on what happens with Trimble, JT Sanders can be out. I do think that could possibly happen, but you know, I'm in wait and see mode on that. JT Sanders he's a really good vertical threat down the field as a tight end. But since his neck injury, his rookie year, he hasn't been the same. Neck injuries are bad. So, well, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. I really appreciate you guys tuning into the show. Darkness, appreciate it. Jones, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. You take it easy. I'm going to be doing this. I promise you. I know I keep saying that and then something happens. I will be making a video. I need to be more consistent with the days, but typically it's like Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. But I'm going to try to do it on Wednesdays if I can. Wednesday's a little bit slower for me, just in between. I work every day. Kids, man, I'm tired, bro. I'm tired. So, but I love the Panthers, so I want to do this. So I appreciate it. Jones, thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Thanks, man. I appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you next week. Keep pounding. Peace.